Lieutenant Cole Vance had never been good at social situations. His human training had taught him how to survive battles, how to navigate alien terrains, and how to react when lasers and plasma bolts whizzed past his head, but no one had ever prepared him for the chaos of interstellar diplomacy, or worse, interstellar dating. He shifted nervously in his standard-issue armor, which squeaked with every movement. It was polished and reinforced, meant for war, not charm. Yet tonight, it would be tested in a different kind of arena. Orbiting above the Orion expanse was the Celestia Hub, a sprawling station that glimmered like a jewel against the dark void of space. The hub served as a neutral ground for thousands of species, a place where trade, diplomacy, and entertainment intertwined. Here, alien merchants hawked glowing artifacts, cybernetic engineers advertised upgrades that bent the rules of physics, and bounty hunters quietly sized up their next contracts. Among the stars, people like Cole were both small and essential, often overlooked until their skills became critical. Cole's hands tightened around the straps of his armor as he walked through the docking corridor. He had never expected to find himself on a mission like this. It wasn't intelligence gathering, reconnaissance, or even a rescue operation. He had been matched on Space Tinder, the galaxy's most absurdly efficient dating app, designed to pair warriors across the stars. He had been connected with someone he never imagined meeting in person, the Huntress Empress Zyra. Zyra's reputation alone could fill the corridors of the hub with whispers. She had conquered entire star systems, led armies against hostile civilizations, and faced opponents who had hoped to intimidate her into submission. Her victories were legendary, her strategies studied in academies across the universe, and her presence commanded attention wherever she went. Her species, tall and lithe, with reflective eyes that seemed to peer into one's soul, moved with the grace of a predator. For most, even hearing her name was enough to spark fear. Cole was not most people. He was terrified. He approached the observation lounge, a transparent chamber hanging like a crystal above the hub, offering a panoramic view of the swirling galaxies and the glittering dance of spacecraft below. Cole had chosen a seat near the far corner, thinking distance might buy him some safety. He checked his armor for the 5th time, adjusting straps and verifying systems. It wasn't just for show. In a universe full of unpredictable dangers, armor could save lives. When she arrived, the air seemed to shift. Zyra entered with the quiet authority of a warrior who knew every step she took was calculated and deliberate. Her gaze swept over the room, landing on Cole, who froze in place. He looked at her profile, the sharp angles of her face, the determination etched into her expression, and the way she seemed to move without effort. He felt like a soldier standing in front of a storm. "Lieutenant Vance," she said, her voice smooth but firm, carrying a weight that made him straighten instinctively. "I see you decided to wear armor. I suppose it's practical." Cole swallowed. "Yes, ma'am. Safety first." She raised a brow, a slight smile tugging at the corner of her lips. "I hope it holds up tonight. You may find it inadequate." The words were casual, almost teasing, but Cole felt them like a warning. He shifted in his seat, trying to seem calm, though his heart raced. He had expected an interview, perhaps a short talk about the app, but he hadn't expected this. Zyra didn't waste words, and she certainly didn't waste opportunities to assess those around her. For a few moments, the two of them simply looked at the galaxies outside the window. Cole tried to focus on the stars, imagining that if he stared long enough he could find a pattern in the chaos, a cosmic dance he could understand and maybe even predict. Zyra's eyes, however, were not on the stars. They were on him, observing his posture, the way he adjusted his armor, the subtle twitch of nerves in his hands. "You humans are interesting," she said finally, breaking the silence.
"You have courage and a certain unpredictability.
Most species are too rigid. They fight by rules, by patterns. You do not. Cole's pulse quickened at her words. He had heard tales of how humans were underestimated, how alien commanders thought them weak, fragile, and replaceable. But Zyra? She sounded almost impressed. "I thank you, ma'am," he said, trying to sound confident, while wondering if he was making a fool of himself.
"I do my best. Good. That will be needed tonight."
Her voice dropped slightly, the amusement fading. Cole realized she was serious. "There's movement on the hub's outer sectors. A rogue fleet, unregistered and hostile. They may see this station as an easy target." Cole's stomach tightened. He had prepared for routine assignments, but a rogue fleet? Here? Now? The hub was neutral ground, heavily defended, but no one expected a surprise attack. And certainly no one expected a human to be seated across from one of the galaxy's deadliest warriors, while danger loomed. "I'm not sure what you mean," he said carefully. "You will see soon enough," Zyra replied. She stood and moved toward the transparent floor panels, her movements fluid and precise. Cole followed, feeling the weight of his armor in a way that suddenly seemed like both protection and a burden. From this vantage, the station seemed peaceful, almost serene. But the calm was deceptive. The first alarms sounded a moment later, a sharp, urgent tone that made Cole's stomach lurch. Red lights bathed the observation lounge as messages flashed across the interface panels. "Hostile fleet detected. Incoming vessels in 3, 2, 1. Cole reacted instinctively, raising his arm as if the armor could shield him from the news. Zyra, however, remained calm, her eyes narrowing as she calculated their options. "You will need to adapt, human," she said. "Armor can only protect the body. Your mind must protect the rest." The rogue ships appeared outside the hub's perimeter, sleek, jagged, and bristling with weaponry. They cut through the void like predators, and Cole felt the instinctive human fear of being cornered. Yet something in him, a stubborn streak, a sense of survival honed over years of human conflict, refused to succumb. He adjusted his visor, checked weapon systems, and scanned for cover. Zyra moved with precision, analyzing the threat, issuing commands through the hub's communication channels.
"Divert power to the shields. Civilian transports to inner docks."
"Security teams, prepare for boarding." Cole followed her lead, moving toward the station's docking corridors. He noticed civilians frozen in panic, their faces reflecting the chaos around them. His instincts shifted from fear to focus. He would protect them. That was what humans did. They improvised, they adapted, they survived. As the first rogue ship opened fire, the station shuddered. Sparks rained from ceiling panels, and Cole's armor groaned under the strain of vibrations. Yet he pressed forward, improvising with cargo crates as shields, directing groups of civilians to safety. Zyra, moving alongside him, seemed almost amused by his unrefined but effective methods. "You are surprisingly resourceful," she said over the comms. "Most of my allies would panic or wait for orders. You act." Cole felt a surge of pride, mingled with adrenaline. He had never considered himself remarkable. He was a soldier, yes, trained and disciplined, but standing next to one of the universe's greatest warriors. His mind had never felt sharper, his instincts never more alive. They reached a docking corridor where the rogue forces were attempting to breach the station. Zyra moved ahead, striking with swift precision, while Cole adapted to the unexpected. He used zero gravity to his advantage, propelling himself unpredictably, striking weak points in the intruder's approach. His armor creaked, scratches appearing with each hit, but it held just enough for him to continue. Zyra glanced back at him once, a small, almost approving smile on her lips. "You may survive tonight, human, but your armor will not." Cole gritted his teeth, adrenaline pumping through every vein. Armor or not, he would survive, not because of tech, but because of ingenuity, courage, and the stubborn human spirit that refused to be broken. As the rogue forces pressed forward, Cole realized something remarkable. He was not just a soldier following orders. He was a human, unpredictable and adaptive. And in this galaxy full of highly advanced and rigidly trained warriors, that unpredictability was a weapon in itself. The corridor became a blur of motion, explosions, laser fire, and the chaos of combat. Cole moved like a force of nature, sometimes in concert with Zyra, sometimes independently, improvising, adapting, surviving. Each moment tested him, pushed him, forced him to think faster than he ever had before, and through it all, he caught glimpses of Zyra, not just the warrior, the Empress, the legend, but the being who recognized potential where others saw weakness. Her eyes met his several times, silently acknowledging the spark that humans carried, a stubborn will to live, to fight, and to defy expectations. By the time the first wave of attackers was repelled, Cole's armor was battered and dented, barely holding together. Yet he stood, breathing heavily, bruised but alive. Zyra approached him, her expression unreadable, but her voice carried a tone he had not expected. "You have done well, human. You may yet prove useful." Cole simply nodded, unable to speak, feeling both relief and a thrill he had never known. He had survived the first night, and for the first time, he felt that humans might truly hold their own in a universe that often underestimated them. The stars outside the observation lounge stretched endlessly, vast and indifferent, yet somehow tonight they seemed a little brighter. Cole realized that his journey had only begun, and that the night, the galaxy, and the Empress herself had more tests in store. But for now, he had faced the storm, and he had not broken. And somewhere deep within him, a small, stubborn human grin formed. The night was far from over, but Cole Vance had discovered a truth that no armor could give him. Humans survive because they adapt, improvise, and fight when all else fails. The Celestia hub shook violently as the rogue fleet's attack intensified. Explosions rippled through the outer docking bays, sending debris tumbling into the void. Red warning lights flashed across the corridors, painting every surface with a sense of danger that made even the most experienced soldiers uneasy. Lieutenant Cole Vance's armor creaked under the stress, but his mind was sharper than ever. He had learned quickly that survival wasn't about relying on equipment alone. It was about thinking fast and using whatever resources the environment offered. Zyra moved beside him with the grace of a predator. Each step was precise, deliberate, and deadly if necessary. Her eyes scanned the hallways and docking areas, assessing the chaos with a calm that Cole envied. She wasn't just a fighter. She was a commander, a strategist, a being who had survived countless battles because she understood that victory came from both skill and foresight. Tonight, Cole realized, he was about to learn the real meaning of that combination. "Cole," Zyra said, her voice steady even as alarms blared, "you will need to move civilians to the inner sections. Use whatever cover you can find. Improvisation is key." Cole nodded, swallowing his fear. He had never led civilians through a combat zone, yet he trusted her judgment. Following her instructions, he grabbed a group of wide-eyed traders and technicians, guiding them through a maze of corridors. He used overturned supply crates and damaged cargo containers as shields, ducking and spinning to avoid sporadic laser fire. Every moment required instinct and quick thinking. His armor, though battered, still provided some protection. But he knew it wouldn't last forever. One of the traders, a small, nervous alien with translucent skin that glowed faintly under the warning lights, stumbled and almost fell. Cole grabbed the alien's arm, pulling him to safety just as a plasma bolt scorched the wall where they had been standing moments before. "Keep moving," he urged. "Follow me and stay low." Zyra covered the rear, moving with effortless precision, neutralizing threats before they could reach the civilians. She occasionally glanced back at Cole, evaluating his actions, silently measuring his potential. He could feel the weight of her scrutiny, but also a growing sense of respect in the way she observed him. He wasn't just a human in armor anymore. He was a problem solver, a survivor, and perhaps even an asset in this fight. The hub's internal defenses began to activate, but the rogue ships were relentless. Drones and automated weapons fired in short bursts, creating a chaotic environment where one wrong step could mean death. Cole realized that relying solely on brute strength or conventional tactics would not work. He needed to anticipate, adapt, and exploit every weakness he could find. When they reached a junction that led to the main transport bays, Cole noticed that a section of the corridor had collapsed, blocking their path. Panic flickered in the eyes of the civilians. He scanned the surroundings and spotted a cargo lift nearby. "Help me get this open!" he called. Using brute human strength and careful leverage, he managed to jam the lift's doors open just enough to squeeze the group through. Each movement was precise, calculated, and risky, but it worked. As they moved deeper into the hub, the sounds of battle grew louder. Explosions rocked the floors above them, and the station's gravity fields fluctuated unpredictably from the impacts. Cole realized that every system aboard the hub, from life support to communications, was vulnerable. Yet he pushed forward, guiding the civilians, improvising every step of the way. "Impressive," Syra said quietly, appearing beside him again. "You do not panic like most species."
"You adapt." Cole shook his head, still breathing heavily.
I'm just trying to survive, ma'am." She studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Survival is not enough. In this galaxy, it is ingenuity that distinguishes the weak from the strong." Before he could respond, an explosion shook the corridor, sending a gust of air and debris toward them. Cole pushed a small group of civilians aside, taking the brunt himself. His armor groaned under the impact, and he felt a sharp sting across his shoulder. Pain shot through him, but he gritted his teeth and pressed on. There was no time to think about injuries. The fight demanded full attention. As they reached the transport bays, they found several enemy boarding teams attempting to breach the station's defenses. Cole assessed the situation quickly. The enemy had advanced armor, energy weapons, and numbers that seemed overwhelming. Yet he also noticed vulnerabilities. The docking bay's magnetic clamps were exposed, and the rogue ships were tethered only loosely, relying on automated guidance systems. He formulated a plan on the spot. "Zyra," he said, pointing toward the docking mechanisms, "if we can release the clamps, their ships will drift away from the station. They won't be destroyed, but it will buy us time." Zyra's eyes narrowed. A human tactic, risky, but effective if executed properly. "Do it!" Cole sprinted toward the controls, ducking and weaving through sporadic laser fire. His fingers worked with speed born of both fear and focus, overriding systems that were unfamiliar, adjusting power distributions, and rerouting energy flows. Sparks flew around him, the control panel sizzling under the strain, but he persisted. Moments later, he heard the mechanical groaning of released clamps as several rogue ships drifted out of formation, their attacks interrupted. Zyra moved in sync with him, taking down enemy operatives with lethal precision while Cole's human ingenuity disrupted their fleet's coordination. Together they became an unlikely team. Raw power and calculated improvisation working side by side. The civilians reached the inner transport bays, where security teams were organizing evacuation shuttles. Cole stayed behind to cover the exit, using crates, railings, and whatever he could find to shield the retreat. Every enemy soldier that approached was met with a mix of defensive maneuvers and clever distractions. At one point, he triggered an emergency airlock sequence, creating a sudden blast of decompressed air that swept several attackers off their feet. It was dangerous, but it worked perfectly. Zyra joined him once the immediate threat subsided. She looked at him, a hint of admiration in her eyes. "You do not fight like your species is expected to," she said. "You think differently. That is why humans endure where others fail." Cole's chest heaved with exhaustion. I just do what I have to do," he said. He knew his armor wouldn't survive another encounter like this, yet he didn't dwell on that. Survival was no longer enough. He needed to prove that humans could contribute in ways others could not anticipate. Humans are underestimated, Zyra continued, her voice almost contemplative. Most species are predictable. You are not. Cole allowed himself a small, tired smile. For the first time in his life, he felt that unpredictability could be an advantage. It wasn't just about luck. It was about using the environment, adapting in real time, and trusting instincts, skills that humans had honed for millennia of conflict and survival. The rogue fleet, meanwhile, had not given up. Smaller ships continued to harass the station, seeking weak points in the defense. Cole realized that the battle was far from over. He turned back toward the corridors, ready to move again, ready to improvise, ready to survive. Zyra stepped beside him, placing a hand on his shoulder, not a gesture of command, but acknowledgement. Tonight you will see that armor can protect the body, but it is the mind that protects life. Use yours wisely, human. Cole nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. His armor was scratched, dented, and partially destroyed, but his mind was clear, sharp, and alert. The adrenaline surged through him, blending fear and focus into a powerful sense of purpose. As they moved to intercept the next wave of attackers, Cole realized that this night would change him. He was no longer just a soldier following orders. He was a problem solver, an improviser, a human whose greatest weapon was not technology, not armor, but courage, intelligence, and adaptability. The battle raged on, but Cole was ready. He would survive. He would adapt, and perhaps, in the process, he would prove to the galaxy that humans, fragile though they may appear, were a force to be reckoned with. And as he looked at Zyra, moving effortlessly through the chaos, he understood that survival tonight would not be measured by armor or strength alone. It would be measured by ingenuity, courage, and the stubborn, unyielding spirit that defined humanity. The rogue fleet's outer ships had been delayed, but the main threat loomed ahead. Lieutenant Cole Vance and Huntress Empress Zyra floated in the shuttle bay, preparing to board the enemy flagship. Cole's armor was battered from the earlier fight, scratches and dents marking his body like badges of survival. He ran his fingers over the damaged plating and let out a deep breath. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every lesson he had learned tonight told him he had to move forward. Zyra checked her own equipment with precision, her movements calm and deliberate. She turned to him, her glowing eyes catching the dim light of the shuttle bay. "Are you ready, human?" she asked. The tone was not mocking, but serious, like a teacher testing a student before a dangerous exam. Cole swallowed and nodded. "I think so, ma'am. As ready as I'll ever be." Zyra allowed a small smirk. "Good, then let's go. Hesitation will cost lives tonight." The shuttle door hissed open, revealing the void between the hub and the rogue flagship. The enemy ship was massive, a dark silhouette against the distant stars, bristling with weaponry and armored plating. Cole's stomach tightened. He had faced combat before, but nothing like this. Boarding a vessel designed for war meant walking into the heart of danger itself. The shuttle jolted as it approached the ship, weaving through automated defense drones that patrolled the perimeter. Cole gripped the handles of his harness, feeling the vibrations of the engines through his palms. Zyra's eyes never left the ship. Every panel, every weapon turret, every hatch was accounted for in her mind. She had done this countless times before, yet for Cole it was all new, a terrifying puzzle of steel, plasma, and potential death. "Remember, human," Zyra said quietly, "armor will not save you here. Your mind, your instincts, and your speed will be your weapons. Trust them." Cole nodded again, steeling himself. He had survived the hub's attack by improvising, adapting, and thinking faster than most of his alien counterparts. Now, it would be tested even further. The shuttle docked at a rear access bay, and the two of them floated silently through the airlock. The interior of the flagship was dimly lit, cold, and humming with energy. Cole's eyes darted around, noting the armored corridors, the automated turrets, and the few enemy soldiers moving in patrols. He felt exposed, vulnerable, yet alive in a way he had never experienced. Zyra moved first, a shadow of deadly precision. Cole followed, letting his instincts guide him. He had learned that in situations like this, hesitation meant death. Every step was calculated, every decision made with speed and purpose. As they progressed through the ship, they encountered their first patrol. Zyra moved without hesitation, striking with efficiency and grace. Cole, meanwhile, found himself improvising. He grabbed a loose conduit and swung it to knock an enemy off balance, then used a low-gravity push to send the others stumbling into the wall. His armor rattled and groaned, but it held. Zyra glanced at him and gave a small nod. She recognized ingenuity when she saw it, and tonight, human unpredictability was proving invaluable. They continued deeper into the ship, moving toward the control center where the rogue fleet captain orchestrated the attack. The corridors twisted and turned, a labyrinth designed to confuse and trap intruders. Cole noticed the security panels, the automated locks, and the weak points in the ship's internal systems. Using his human intuition, he bypassed electronic locks, rerouted power to disable certain turrets, and left distractions in their path. Every step was a calculated risk, but it worked. At one point, they entered a central atrium filled with enemy soldiers. Cole froze for a fraction of a second, but then he remembered Zyra's words. Armor cannot protect the mind. He surveyed the surroundings quickly and saw an opportunity. He activated the emergency fire suppression system, sending a dense cloud of chemical fog across the atrium. Visibility dropped, sensors faltered, and the enemy soldiers struggled to coordinate. Cole and Zyra moved like shadows through the mist, neutralizing threats efficiently. By the time they reached the bridge, Cole was breathing heavily, his armor battered, his body bruised, yet his mind sharper than ever. The rogue captain was waiting, a towering figure clad in heavy armor, surrounded by his elite guards. He sneered at them, confident that the legendary Empress would face no real challenge from a human soldier at her side. Zyra moved forward with deadly grace, striking at the guards with precise attacks. Cole realized that brute force alone would not win this battle. He scanned the bridge, noting control panels, weapon systems, and power conduits. A plan formed in his mind, risky but potentially decisive. He ducked behind a console, avoiding an energy blast that scorched the floor. Then, using a combination of agility and quick thinking, he redirected the ship's power, overloading certain circuits and creating sparks that disoriented the enemy guards. He pushed forward, exploiting gaps in their formation, and created openings for Zyra to strike more efficiently. The captain roared in frustration, underestimating the human at his side. Cole saw the momentary distraction and acted. Using his harness and low-gravity push, he propelled himself onto the captain's platform, knocking him off balance. Zyra seized the opportunity, striking with lethal precision. Within moments, the bridge was secured. Cole stood amidst the chaos, breathing heavily, his armor nearly destroyed, yet triumphant. Zyra looked at him with something like approval, her usual cold demeanor softened by recognition. "Your species surprises me," she said quietly. "I did not expect this creativity. Humans think differently. That is why you endure." Cole allowed himself a small, exhausted smile. "I just do what I have to do," he said. Zyra studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Good. Tonight we survived because we adapted." "Because you adapted. Remember that. Ingenuity and courage. Those are human strengths. Never forget them." As the ship systems were secured and the rogue fleet communications disrupted, Cole felt a new sense of confidence. He had survived unimaginable danger, and played a crucial role alongside one of the galaxy's deadliest warriors. Armor could fail, strength could be insufficient, but human ingenuity, adaptability, and courage had turned the tide. The flagship began to stabilize under their control. Cole and Zyra moved through the corridors, checking systems, securing prisoners, and ensuring the remaining threats were neutralized. Each step reinforced the lesson that humans were underestimated, yet uniquely capable. Zyra paused in one corridor, turning to him with an unreadable expression. "You have potential beyond what I expected," she said. "Few species survive what humans endure with such determination. Few adapt under pressure like you. Remember this lesson. In war, in survival, the mind is stronger than the armor." Cole nodded, still breathing heavily, the adrenaline slowly fading. I understand, ma'am." She allowed a small, rare smile, a gesture of respect. "Good. There will be more battles, more threats. But you, humans, will always have that edge, even when the odds are impossible." As they prepared to leave the flagship and return to the hub, Cole took a moment to glance around. The corridors were quiet now, the hum of machinery, the only sound. The danger had passed, at least for the moment, and yet the lesson was clear. Humans survived not because of superior armor or strength, but because of ingenuity, adaptability, and the willingness to act when others hesitated. Zyra led him back to the shuttle bay. "Tonight, you proved yourself," she said. "Not just as a soldier, but as a human capable of facing impossible odds and surviving. That is worth more than any rank or title." Cole allowed himself a tired but genuine smile. For the first time, he felt that humans truly had a place in the galaxy, that their unpredictable, creative, and stubborn nature could make them not just survivors, but heroes. As the shuttle detached from the rogue flagship heading back to the Celestia hub, Cole and Zyra sat in silence, watching the stars drift past. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable. Yet for the first time, Cole felt a sense of belonging. He had faced the impossible and survived, not because of armor, not because of superior technology, but because he had trusted his instincts, adapted, and acted. Zyra glanced at him, her expression still unreadable, but her tone softer than before. "Do you see now why humans endure?" she asked. Cole nodded. "I do, ma'am. I understand." The shuttle moved quietly through space, leaving the captured flagship behind. The battle was not over. The rogue fleet would regroup, and new threats would emerge. But Cole felt ready. He had discovered the truth about human strength. Courage, creativity, and adaptability could overcome the greatest dangers, even in a galaxy where legends like Zyra ruled the stars. For Cole, tonight was a turning point. He had been underestimated, overlooked, and doubted. Yet he had survived, thrived, and proven that humans, fragile though they might seem, were a force to be reckoned with. And as the stars stretched endlessly ahead, he felt a spark of confidence and determination. Armor could fail, strength could falter, but the human spirit, the stubborn, unyielding, endlessly creative human spirit, would endure. The Celestia hub had survived the initial onslaught, but the calm that followed was fragile. Lieutenant Cole Vance and Huntress Empress Zyra had returned from the rogue flagship, exhausted but alive. Cole's armor was nearly destroyed, dented and scorched from their encounters, yet he moved with a steady determination. His human instincts had kept him alive, but tonight he would learn that survival was only part of the challenge. Zyra stood near the observation deck, her glowing eyes scanning the hub's systems and communications. Despite the outward calm, she sensed unease among her allies. Something about the rogue fleet's attacks had felt off, too precise, too coordinated, as if someone on the inside had guided them. Cole followed her gaze, his mind still racing from the adrenaline of battle. "Do you think there's another attack coming?" he asked, voice low. Zyra's expression hardened. "Not just an attack, human," Someone here may be working against us. Trust is a rare commodity in the galaxy. Do not assume loyalty because of rank or familiarity. Cole's stomach tightened. He had learned to improvise and adapt under fire, but betrayal within one's own ranks was a danger of a different kind. It required observation, intuition, and careful action. Unlike armor, there was no physical shield against it. The hub's corridors were quieter than usual, but small signs hinted at hidden threats. A hatch slightly ajar that should have been locked, a security drone hovering where it had no orders to be, and intercepted messages that hinted at deception. Cole noticed these anomalies immediately, his human intuition recognizing patterns that others might miss. Zyra moved swiftly, signaling Cole to follow her. "We must investigate. If there is a traitor aboard, we need to act before they can strike again." They moved through the station, careful to avoid detection. Cole's knowledge of improvisation and quick thinking became essential. He found a small control panel and rerouted communications, giving them access to the hidden corridors and allowing them to monitor key areas without alerting anyone. Zyra raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "Your species is resourceful. You see possibilities where others see walls." Their search led them to a secure section of the hub where sensitive systems were housed. Cole noticed a figure moving silently through the shadows, a familiar aide who had accompanied Zyra for years. Something about the aide's movements felt off, calculated, and deliberate. Cole signaled Zyra, pointing discreetly. Zyra's eyes narrowed. A human would call this intuition. "Very well. Let us see if your instincts are correct." They followed the aide, careful not to reveal their presence. The figure accessed the hub's main control system, sending unauthorized commands to the defensive turrets and attempting to override internal security protocols. Cole's mind raced. He had to stop this without being detected. Using a combination of stealth and quick thinking, he manipulated the nearby consoles, creating a false feedback loop that masked their observation. The aide continued their sabotage, unaware of the trap Cole had set. Zyra moved into position, ready to confront the traitor, while Cole prepared a plan to neutralize them without unnecessary violence. When Zyra finally stepped out, the aide's reaction confirmed their suspicion. The betrayal was real. The aide drew a concealed energy weapon, aiming at Zyra, but Cole acted first. He used the environment to his advantage, triggering a panel that released a burst of pressurized air, knocking the traitor off balance. Zyra immediately disabled the aide, ensuring they could no longer interfere. Cole exhaled, his heart still pounding. "That could have gone very badly," he said, glancing at Zyra. She nodded. "Indeed. You acted with quick thinking and precision. It saved lives. That is why I value humans in battle. You are unpredictable in ways even the cleverest enemies cannot anticipate." Despite the immediate threat being neutralized, the betrayal left a lingering unease. Cole realized that the rogue fleet's attack had been only a part of a larger plan. Someone within the hub had provided critical intelligence to the enemy, and they had narrowly avoided disaster. His mind churned with possibilities, seeking weak points and patterns that might prevent further sabotage. Zyra moved beside him, her demeanor calm but tense. "We must strengthen our defenses and anticipate further strikes. And we must rely on your instincts, human. You see things others overlook." Cole nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. Armor and weapons had protected his body, but his mind was now the key to survival. He moved through the hub's corridors, checking systems, reviewing security logs, and improvising solutions. He rerouted energy to reinforce critical areas, adjusted shields to anticipate unexpected strikes, and coordinated with station personnel to ensure civilians were safe. Each action reinforced a truth he had learned in battle. Humans thrived under pressure because they could adapt, improvise, and think creatively. Unlike the rigidly trained soldiers of other species, humans could act unpredictably, turning disadvantage into opportunity. Hours passed in tense vigilance. The hub remained under threat, yet no further attacks occurred immediately. Cole and Zyra took a moment to regroup, observing the stars from the observation deck. The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, indifferent to the struggles of any single station, yet full of opportunity and danger. Zyra spoke quietly, almost contemplatively. Humans endure because you do not rely solely on strength or technology. You improvise. You adapt. You survive when others would fail. Cole glanced at her, the exhaustion of the night heavy on his shoulders. I never thought of it that way, he admitted. I just, do what I have to do. That is precisely why you survive, Zyra said. Action without hesitation, thought without limitation. Your species possesses a flexibility that is rare among the stars. It is why you endure where others perish. Cole absorbed her words, feeling a sense of pride tempered by humility. He had survived, yes, but more importantly, he had proven that human ingenuity could match, even complement, the skills of legendary warriors like Zyra. Their reflection was interrupted by a new alert, a secondary fleet approaching the hub from an unexpected trajectory. This was no ordinary assault. It was coordinated, precise, and designed to exploit weaknesses in the station's defenses. Cole's eyes lit up with determination. Armor might fail, weapons might falter, but his mind, his ability to think creatively under pressure, would not. He moved quickly to the hub's tactical systems, analyzing the incoming threat. Zyra stood beside him, her expression unreadable, yet her presence a steadying force. "We must act, human," she said. "Your ingenuity will be required." Cole nodded, feeling the familiar surge of adrenaline. He rerouted defensive systems, created decoy signals to mislead the approaching fleet, and identified weak points in their formation. He coordinated with Zyra's strike teams, guiding their movements with precision that surprised even seasoned soldiers. The secondary fleet struck, but Cole's improvisations paid off. Automated defenses targeted the enemy's weak points, decoy signals confused their sensors, and carefully timed countermeasures disrupted their advance. Zyra moved through the battlefield with lethal efficiency, striking key targets while Cole manipulated the systems to maximize the impact. In the chaos, Cole realized that human unpredictability was their greatest weapon. While alien species relied on patterns, strategy, and discipline, humans thrived in the unexpected, exploiting opportunities that others could not foresee. Zyra had recognized it before, but tonight, Cole had experienced it firsthand and used it to save countless lives. After the fleet was repelled, the hub was battered, but intact. Cole and Zyra surveyed the aftermath, their minds already assessing the next steps. The traitor had been neutralized, the rogue fleet delayed, but the galaxy remained full of threats, each requiring vigilance, ingenuity, and courage. Zyra turned to him, her expression softer than before. "You have proven yourself again, human. Your species endures not because of strength or armor, but because of adaptability, courage, and intelligence. That is something few understand until it is too late." Cole felt a deep sense of accomplishment. He had faced betrayal, chaos, and overwhelming odds, and survived. He had acted with ingenuity, adapted to unexpected situations, and worked alongside one of the most powerful warriors in the galaxy. For the first time, he truly understood the value of human resourcefulness and courage. As the station began repairs and civilians returned to safety, Cole took a quiet moment to reflect. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, yet full of opportunity for those willing to act, adapt, and survive. Humans, he realized, were perfectly suited for this. Zyra stood beside him, her gaze fixed on the stars. "The night is far from over, human," she said. "There will be more challenges, more threats, and more opportunities for your species to prove its worth. Remember this: adaptability and courage are stronger than any armor." Cole nodded, determination shining in his eyes. He was battered, exhausted, and armorless in many ways, but his mind was sharper than ever. The trials of the night had revealed the true strength of humanity, the ability to think, adapt, and survive when the odds were impossible. And as the stars stretched endlessly before them, Cole Vance felt a spark of pride, confidence, and readiness. The galaxy was full of danger, yes, but it was also full of possibilities. And humans, unpredictable and ingenious, were ready to meet them head-on. Tonight had proven it. The hub had survived, the traitor exposed, and the rogue fleet delayed. But more importantly, Cole had proven that human courage, adaptability, and creativity could match even the most legendary warriors. Armor might fail, strength might falter, but the human mind, sharp and unyielding, would endure. And somewhere deep within him, a small, stubborn human grin formed. The night was far from over, but Cole Vance knew one truth with certainty. Humans survive because they adapt, improvise, and fight when all else fails. And tonight, that was enough to turn the tide. The galaxy stretched endlessly before Lieutenant Cole Vance and Huntress Empress Zyra, vast and beautiful, yet filled with danger. After surviving the rogue fleet and exposing the traitor aboard the Celestia hub, they had returned to the observation deck to plan their next move. But the relief was short-lived. A new threat loomed far beyond the hub. A massive alien superweapon had emerged on the outskirts of the Orion expanse, its presence detectable by the slightest fluctuations in the gravitational field. Cole's stomach tightened as he processed the data. This was no ordinary attack. The superweapon had the power to destroy entire sectors, obliterating colonies, stations, and fleets alike. The rogue fleet had only been a distraction. Someone wanted to weaken defenses and divert attention, while the real threat prepared to strike. Zyra's eyes narrowed, her expression unreadable, but deadly serious. "This weapon was designed to annihilate civilizations," she said. "It is far more dangerous than anything we have faced. If we do not act, billions will die." Cole swallowed, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Armor could protect his body, but it could not shield him from the enormity of the challenge ahead. His mind, however, remained sharp. Humans thrived in impossible situations because they could improvise, adapt, and act when others froze. Tonight, that ability would be tested like never before. The two of them prepared a small strike team, consisting of a few elite pilots and engineers who could follow Cole's unconventional ideas. Zyra allowed him to take the lead on the plan, recognizing that human ingenuity, unpredictable, bold, and flexible, was their best chance. Cole analyzed the superweapon's trajectory and shield systems. Conventional attacks would fail. The weapon was protected by layers of armor and energy shields far beyond anything he had faced before. But he noticed a pattern in its operations, a slight delay between energy cycles that indicated a vulnerability. He proposed a risky plan. Instead of attacking with raw force, they would exploit the timing of its energy pulses, using the hub's systems and their shuttle fleet to create confusion and misdirection. Zyra studied his plan carefully, weighing the risks. Finally, she nodded. "Your instincts may save lives tonight, human. We will follow your lead." As their fleet approached the superweapon, Cole's pulse quickened. He coordinated the pilots, instructing them to mimic enemy maneuvers, drawing the weapon's sensors to false targets. At the same time, he and Zyra would board the weapon in a small assault shuttle to disable its core systems manually. The idea was daring, almost suicidal, but it relied on precision, speed, and ingenuity. The strengths of humans when faced with overwhelming odds. The moment arrived. The assault shuttle detached from the main fleet, weaving through the vacuum as laser fire and defensive drones swarmed around them. Cole gritted his teeth, guiding the shuttle through a series of narrow passages to avoid detection. Every movement mattered. One mistake could mean instant destruction. Zyra, seated beside him, monitored external threats, neutralizing drones with carefully timed energy blasts from her weapon. Cole noticed her glancing at him occasionally, a rare sign of respect and trust. He felt the weight of responsibility, but also a surge of confidence. Humans had survived impossible odds before, and tonight would be no different. They reached the superweapon's outer hatch. Cole manually overrode the locking mechanisms, using improvisation and quick thinking to bypass alien security protocols. Sparks flew, warning alarms blared, and he felt the adrenaline surge through his veins. One more misstep, and they would be trapped in a vacuum with no chance of escape. The hatch opened, and they entered the inner corridors of the weapon. It was massive, cold, and humming with dangerous energy. Cole studied the pathways, noticing the weak points in the structural support and power conduits. He formulated a plan in seconds. Reroute energy from key nodes to create temporary overloads, disrupt the weapon's targeting systems, and then manually deactivate the core. It was risky, but Cole's ingenuity made it possible. As they moved, automated security drones attacked. Cole improvised quickly, using exposed conduits to redirect electrical currents, creating short circuits that disabled the drones. Zyra moved with lethal precision, neutralizing threats before they could reach him. The synergy between the human and the Empress was unmatched. Raw power and quick thinking in perfect harmony. They reached the core chamber, a massive room pulsing with energy. The weapon's central systems glowed ominously, ready to unleash devastation. Cole studied the controls, calculating the sequence needed to overload the system just long enough to shut it down without triggering a chain reaction that could destroy the entire weapon instantly. "Human," Zyra said quietly, "this is your moment. Your species survives tonight because of moments like this." "Act with courage and precision," Cole nodded, his hands moving over the alien consoles. His mind raced, adjusting calculations in real time, predicting energy fluctuations and compensating for the weapon's automated defenses. The panels sparked and hissed under his touch, yet he persisted, relying on human ingenuity, adaptability, and determination. Seconds stretched into eternity as the core systems resisted his efforts. The superweapon began to hum louder, its energy building to dangerous levels. Cole felt the heat on his face and the vibration under his feet. But he did not hesitate. He adjusted the final circuits, creating a feedback loop that destabilized the shields and disrupted the weapon's targeting systems. A massive surge of energy pulsed through the chamber, and Cole was thrown backward. Sparks rained down and alarms screamed, but the core was destabilized. Zyra moved swiftly, covering him as they prepared to exit. The weapon's destructive potential was neutralized, at least temporarily. Cole struggled to his feet, exhaustion threatening to overwhelm him. It worked, he gasped, disbelief and relief mixing in his voice. Zyra nodded, her expression unreadable but proud. "Yes, human. You have done what few could. Your ingenuity, courage, and adaptability have saved countless lives tonight." The return to their shuttle was tense. The superweapon's remaining systems were unstable, and small drones continued to attack. Cole improvised again, using environmental controls to create temporary barriers and misdirect the drones, ensuring a safe escape. Zyra piloted their shuttle through the chaos, her movements precise, yet relying on Cole's quick thinking to avoid traps and hazards. As they reached the Celestia hub, the fleet had successfully repelled remaining attacks. Civilians and allied forces cheered, unaware of the precise role that human ingenuity had played in saving them. Cole felt a mix of relief and pride. He had survived against impossible odds, adapted to challenges no one else could, and played a crucial role alongside one of the galaxy's most legendary warriors. Zyra stood beside him once they disembarked, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "You have proven tonight what I suspected all along," she said. "Humans endure because they adapt, because they think, because they act when others hesitate. Strength and armor can fail, but ingenuity cannot." Cole's chest swelled with a quiet pride. I just did what I had to do, ma'am."
"Exactly," Zyra replied. "And that is why humans are worth more than most species realize.
remember this. Courage and intelligence are stronger than any weapon or shield. The Celestia hub began repairs, but the events of the night would be remembered. The rogue fleet was delayed, the traitor exposed, and the superweapon neutralized. Cole's armor was battered beyond repair, yet his spirit was stronger than ever. He had faced the impossible and survived, proving that human adaptability, creativity, and courage could hold their own in a galaxy of legendary warriors. Cole looked at Zyra, the Empress who had once been untouchable, now recognizing his worth. He realized that humans, though seemingly fragile, had something no armor or weapon could replicate: unpredictability, ingenuity, and the unyielding will to survive. Zyra broke the silence, her voice quiet but firm. The galaxy is vast, human. Threats will rise, challenges will come, but you, humans, will endure because you adapt, because you survive, because you fight in ways others cannot anticipate. Cole nodded, feeling a deep sense of belonging and purpose. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a reminder of both danger and opportunity. Humans were small in the grand scheme of the universe, yes, but their minds, courage, and ingenuity made them a force that could not be ignored. The night had been long, filled with chaos, betrayal, and near-death experiences. Yet Cole Vance had learned the ultimate truth. Survival in the galaxy depended not on armor, not on strength, but on the human spirit, the creativity, courage, and adaptability that allowed them to face impossible odds and prevail. As the hub's lights glimmered around them and the stars sparkled beyond the observation deck, Cole allowed himself a tired, satisfied smile. He had survived, adapted, and helped save countless lives. Humanity had endured another night in a dangerous, unpredictable galaxy. Zyra looked at him one last time, her voice softening with rare warmth. You have done well, human. Tonight, you have proven that your species is capable of greatness. Do not forget this lesson. Cole nodded, exhausted but triumphant. I won't, ma'am. I promise. The galaxy stretched before them, vast and full of unknown dangers, yet filled with endless possibility. Cole knew that the future would bring more challenges, more threats, and more opportunities to prove the worth of humanity. And for the first time, he felt certain that humans, stubborn, unpredictable, and ingenious, would meet them head-on, survive, and somewhere deep within, Cole smiled again, the small human grin of someone who had faced impossible odds, adapted, and endured. The night was over, but the story of humanity in the stars was just beginning.